Hi, I'm Jason. Today we're going to take a look at Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards, Duel at Mt Skullzfyre. Yeah, it's called that. That's its full name. There's 5 expansions. Here's another one. It's called Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards, Rumble at Castle Tentakill. They all have weird names like that. It's crazy. The name is a little over the top because the artwork is extremely over the top. And before we even jump in, I want to point out, I want you to know I love this game. It's a great game. The way it plays, the way it makes spells, it's very easy to learn. It's quick to play. I love it. The art is frequently too much for me. It's, I'll show you examples here. It's a little gory at times. It's very mature. The box does say 15 plus. There's strong language. It's definitely not for kids, which is unfortunate because functionally, like mechanically, the game is not complicated. Kids could play this. They just can't play this. What is Epic Spell Wars though? It's a competitive game of composing spells that will damage your opponents and get you treasure and ultimately leave you as the last wizard standing, and that's how you win. I think you win 2 times. You play several rounds until one person is the last wizard standing, I think twice, and that person wins. So we're going to take a look how the game works, how you put spells together, what happens when you die, and we'll go from there. And side note, if you're a fan of cardboard that just stands on the table and takes up space, I got good news for you. This is Mt Skullzfyre, and if you get one of the other ones like Castle Tentakill here, well, it's got a standee as well. And I don't really understand, like, it's a cool standee. Do we put it on the table when we play it? We absolutely don't. Because where are you going to put this? Say you're sitting at a table with 6 people. The game takes up no space. All the cards go in the middle. There's only 3 decks. There's spells, dead wizard cards, and treasure, which we'll get to in a second. But where are you going to put this? You can't put it in the middle of the table because now I can't reach cards. I can't put it on this side because now the player across me can't reach cards. There's really no good place to put this. Like at the end of the table where no one's even going to see it, like why even have it there? It's fun. It's a fun thing. I love when people include weird cardboard standees in their games. It's just, this one, because everything goes in the middle, it's just a bit a little awkward to even implement anywhere. Anyway, let's take a look at what comes in the box other than some cardboard standees. Okay, so not a whole lot actually comes in this box, which is great because you don't need any more than you see here. We've got 4 dice. We've got 120 spell cards plus 8 wild magic cards, so there's a whole lot of variety in there. We've got a big pile of dead wizard cards and a pile of treasure cards. There's also character boards to keep track of your health. There's a fun full art side that you'll basically never look at because you're only going to use the health tracking side, which is fine. There's still nice, the art's still on there. And you're going to take one of these and put it in front of you. There's tokens, I didn't take it out of the box for some reason, that track your health and keep track of how many times you've been the last wizard standing. And that's everything's in the box. So let's look at how we use it. So the first thing you need to know about spell cards is that there's 3, but technically 4 types of cards. There are source cards, which are the origin of the spell, quality cards, which are the middle part of the spell, and deliveries, which are the final part. There's also wild magic, which doesn't actually modify the spell in any way. It's more of a placeholder. If you don't have either a source quality or a delivery and you would like to use one, you can use a wild magic card until you would cast your spell and you would take cards off the deck till you find the component you're missing. But in terms of the 3 types, the 3 main types, or components rather, you can tell which one's which by the letter at the bottom corner. You got a S for source, Q for quality, D for delivery. Also, the border for the sources is yellow, like letter. Quality has an orange border, and delivery has the red border, and because you're ultimately going to play cards that are spells that are made of 3 components, the borders do sort of line up. So the middle quality, so the middle component only has a top and bottom border, whereas the start and end have borders that go around the edges, like the ends. But when you make a spell, you don't have to use all 3 cards, and we're gonna look at why you might not want to. The last thing to know about the spell components is they belong to one of 5 types of magic. So in the bottom corner here, you'll see that has a little fire and says elemental. This one here is an illusion spell. There's also arcane spells and primal spells. You're also getting a view of some of the more gross art in the game. And the last one is dark type spells. Or not spells, but components. The whole thing together is a spell. So the symbol in the bottom corner is called the glyph. So certain cards, you'll get a higher benefit if you have matching glyphs in the 3 cards of in the 1, 2, or 3 cards of your spell. For the most part, it's for deliveries. So you can see here, this delivery Gornado says you do a power roll for all delivery cards, and you roll dice equal to the number of glyphs that match your delivery in the rest of your spell. So if you have 3 cards that are all, in this case, primal, you would roll 3 dice, and then you'd see here it says if you roll 1 to 4, you do 2 damage, 5 to 9 is 3 damage, and it says 10 plus is 6 damage. So ideally, to use Gornado effectively, you would want to use 3 primal cards. But you might not have 3 primal cards, and that's fine. You can make a spell that's an arcane source, a dark quality, and a primal destination. Or, I keep saying destination, delivery. It's just that your delivery won't be as effective as it could be otherwise. That said, there are treasure cards that will modify your spells. Specifically, there's a pair of shoes for each one of the families, each of the magic types rather, that counts as an extra glyph when you cast any spell. So in that case, you could cast a Gornado just on its own. If you have the right shoes, you could still roll 2 dice. Okay, so now that I know how the cards look and what the components are of them, how do we make spells? It's very straightforward. Of the 8 cards you have in your hand, you're going to make a spell of up to 3 cards, 1, 2, or 3 cards. The rules for making a spell are pretty much just that you can't use the same component more than one time. You can't have two deliveries or 2 sources. You have to play them in order: source, quality, delivery. If you don't have a quality, that's fine. You play a source and a delivery, or you can play a quality and a delivery, or whatever you want. Any combination, as long as they get played in order. So the border lines up, and even the banner, the name banner, lines up. You just can't use the same component type more than once. So you're going to make a spell in your hand, but you don't have to actually tell anyone how many cards you're going to play. You're going to stack them face down on the table until everyone has submitted all their own spells, and then everyone's going to reveal how many cards they actually played. And then we go to actually casting these spells. So the smaller, I said you might not want to play a 3-card spell. The smallest spells, so 1-card spells, resolve first, then 2-card spells, then 3-card spells. Because 3-card spells are very, very big and powerful. They take more time to cast, let's say. Generally, initiative is determined by this little flame symbol here on your delivery. So in this case, it's a 2. The higher number is faster. If you don't have delivery, so say you only played 1 card and it's not a delivery, your initiative is technically 0. But if, say, 2 people played only 1 card and no one had delivery, so no one had an actual initiative, everyone's initiative 0, you just roll a die, whoever rolls higher goes first. Another thing to note is festering here. This says your strongest foe who has not yet acted loses the quality component of their spell. So that means that they might go from a 3-card spell to a 2-card spell, which means they're not going to act in the 3-card spell initiative. They're going to be in the 2 or 1 phase, depending on how many cards they actually have left. So you might actually speed someone up by accident by doing that. But yeah, so everyone's going to reveal how many cards they have. You're going to figure out who acts in what order, and you're going to resolve your cards. So what the cards do is very straightforward. It says right on them that you're not going to need to, there's not a lot of clarification required for who gets targeted or how much damage is done. Cards will say the target your strongest foe, your weakest foe. That means whoever has the most or the least health. Might say someone's stronger than you or weaker than you, so just more or less health than you specifically, not the most or the least. Could be random, so you roll a die. Could say all foes. Could say your foe on the left specifically, or on the right, or left and right. So, and if the foe on your left or right is dead, then it would be the next one around. So you just, follow around the table till you hit the next person. Then you do damage. So there's no way to block damage. It's not like there's no, I throw a spell at you and you have a chance to not take damage. You're going to take the damage. You'll move your tracker down, and should you move off of 1 and go to 0 health, then you die. So it's sort of a player elimination game, but not really, because when you're dead, you still get to sort of participate. You get to start drawing dead wizard cards. So as an example of a dead wizard card, this one here says you start the next game with +3 health. So right off the bat, you die, you're out of this round of the game, you draw this card, you know going into the next game, you are going to have 3 more health than possibly anyone else. But, I mean, say the game doesn't end that round and you're dead for another round. Well, when everyone else is drawing back up to 8 cards, you're going to draw another dead wizard card. And this one says, at the end of the current game, take a wild magic card and set it aside, and add it to your hand next game. So you get a 9th card, and it's a wild magic on top of that. The longer you're dead, the more powerful you will be going into the next game. So it might seem like, you want to gang up on somebody to eliminate them, therefore you have less competition, but the faster you kick someone out of the game, the stronger they will become, and the more likely they will be able to exact revenge on you. One of the Dead Wizard cards actually says, Backlash from Beyond, deal 2 damage to a wizard of your choice. So you're dead and you're doing 2 damage to somebody. You might kill somebody with that, or at least impact their game in some way. And then the last thing, really, is that, as an example of how wild magic works, let's just say I played a source and a wild magic and a delivery. So I don't have a quality in my spell here. So what I would do is I would draw cards. When it's my turn to cast a spell, I would draw cards until I get a quality type I thought would have them faster than this. I might just fake it and say I got one. Let's say I got Festering off the top of the deck. So the next quality that comes up, I don't get to choose. I don't say, I don't want that quality. Whatever the next one that comes up is, it gets put in there. It might be helpful to you. It might not be helpful to you. There's equal odds of both, I would say. And then you would resolve your spell as normal. You could have multiple wild magic cards, but as I said, there's only 8 in the whole game. So the odds of you even getting 2, pretty unlikely. And then the last part of Epic Spell Wars that I haven't mentioned is the treasure cards. So something like Professor Presto here says deal 3 damage to deal 3 damage to a random foe. If you played a wild magic card as part of your spell, gain a treasure. So in this case, if I played Professor Presto and a wild magic and Gornado, I played this set of spells here. Professor Presto's wild magic, Gornado. Because I played a wild magic card, I get to draw a treasure. So the treasure I drew, let's give him a little shuffle here, for no particular reason, and I get Methy-Ion's Backpack of Speed. Now I don't know if that's a reference to somebody. A lot of the game has like sort of tongue-in-cheek humor and sort of not really pop culture references, but references to things. Like one of the treasures is clearly a reference to Dungeons and Dragons. So this one here says, all my spells have plus 10 initiative, but I may discard this treasure to act last in a round. So I have this treasure, it sits in front of me for the rest of the game, and now my initiative is plus 10. So I will very likely always go first, unless, like, you know, I play a Gornado and then my initiative is only 2 plus 10 is 12. So there's definitely deliveries that are higher than 12. I think there's a 19, but I can't tell you which one it is. And the last thing I just had to clarify, because I feel like we've done it wrong, is at the end of the round. So everyone's been eliminated except one player. They get a token that says last wizard standing. Everyone else has at least one dead wizard card, potentially, or very likely more than one, because they've been dead for several rounds, and they're going to be much stronger. The player who wins the last wizard standing token is much less likely to win subsequent, like the next round, because of all of the abilities granted by the dead wizard cards. But to start a new round, everyone discards all cards they have and treasures that you've accumulated to the discard pile. So you don't reshuffle it until you run out of cards. So, like, if this round ended, I would lose Methion's Backpack of Speed. It go to the discard pile. No one's going to get that until the treasure deck runs out and gets shuffled, which is probably not going to happen. As well as the spell deck will not get reshuffled until the deck runs out. So you can't hang on to cards. You can't you can't use treasure for future rounds to keep winning, because everything is just this round. Then we do a whole new round, start completely from scratch, with 8 new spell cards, no treasures, unless you have treasures from a dead wizard card. Because some of these do say, yeah, there we go, Afterlife Artifact. At the start of the next game, you gain a treasure. So right off the bat, you're going to start the next round, and you're going to go, oh, I have the double downer, which is 2 chickens tied to a pig, which says, when a foe plays a card with the same name as a card in your hand, you may discard that card, deal 2 damage to that player, and you heal 2 damage. So, because there are definitely copies of cards, that's likely to happen more than once. I think that's all of Epic Spell Wars. So, as I said, there's multiple versions. I think there's 6 in total. And as with all of the games that I talk about, you can find them all at wizardtower.com. The only thing, I don't think they have the first one, but they're not sequential. You can get any of them. You can mix and match them, shuffle them all together if you want. I believe they have 2 through 6, but not 1, which is fine. I've only actually played 1 and 2, and I've actually only played 2, I think, 1 time. It's just more crazy art. I think this box also adds creatures, and I suspect each set adds something new that isn't just, you know, more cards with more absolutely crazy art that I'm really borderline on how much I like it. I probably couldn't easily find you a creature in this box for us to see like what that even means, unless there's one like on the top. Okay, I just had a little peek at the rules for Rumble at Castle Tentacle, and I feel like it's worth mentioning. There's some, like, what the differences are. First of all, this has a purpose, and I totally forgot that it has a purpose. So at the start of the game, this will sit in the middle, and this isn't part of this set here. This will start in the middle of the table, and certain cards will let you take this and put it in front of you, and whoever has it has bonus effects. So I've got a card here. What is this called? Togongo Volcanus. Whatever. So it's just like, that's the source. It says, give your strongest foe 1 blood, then deal 1 die of damage to them. But if you have the standee, you also deal 1 die of damage to a different foe. So whoever's a standee gets better effects from having it. I believe it says if you kill whoever has the standee, you get it. Actually, there's a reference right in the back of the rules, and it says, no, it just says at the end of the round, Whoever has a standee gains 1 blood from the pool. When you kill a foe, gain 3 blood. Okay, had a little quick look at the rules there again. This game also adds blood as a resource. So there's extra tokens in here that you'll use on your character sheet, the same as while using your health tracker, but it highlights how much blood you've collected. So when you kill someone, you gain 3 blood. You don't get blood for killing yourself because, as the rulebook says, you're not around to collect it. Blood doesn't reset every round. You just accumulate it. So over subsequent rounds, you never have to reset it. And you can pay blood to increase the effect of spells. Did I find one that says anything about paying blood? Yeah, there we go. Dr. Gravelover's spell here, source, says take the standee, and then you can pay 1 blood to deal 2 damage for each foe. Deal 2 damage to each foe for each last wizard standing token in play. So the further into the game you get, the more people that have won. Say you're playing a 6-player game and everyone's won 1 time. You're paying 1 blood to deal 2 damage. No, you're paying 1 blood to deal 12 damage to each foe. That's pretty huge. That's pretty cool. We need to play this set again. As I said, I think we played it once. That's why I'm unfamiliar with some of the mechanics. So this one here, very straightforward. There's nothing weird about it. It's just you play 3 cards, you do whatever they say, and that's what you get. This one over here, you have blood to keep track of as a resource. You have the standee that actually does something, which I actually appreciate now that I remember that it does that. I do think it adds creatures of some sort. I don't know what that means because I didn't find one that said anything about it. The other 4 Epic Spell Wars, what do they add? I couldn't tell you. I'm sure you'd find out with some research. Maybe I'll put a little note here on the screen if I can figure out what else they add. But that has to be all I can tell you about Epic Spell Wars. I hope that you've learned. I hope that if you've seen this on a shelf and you thought, oh, that's kind of grotesque and weird, maybe now you know that, yes, it is grotesque and weird, and what's in the box is probably even more than you expected it to be. But you know how it plays. You might think, oh, you know what, gameplay-wise, that's very interesting to me. But if you have kids, use your discretion about whether you play this with them. Maybe I'm just too sensitive to weird art like that. You can make your own call. As I said, you can find these at wizardtower.com. Well, not this one at the moment, but this one and the other 4 that are, I mean, largely the same game with some tweaks. And thanks for joining me again. My name is Jason, and we'll see you next time.